Yesterday, the Houston Rockets defeated the San Antonio Spurs 111 to 106. This was a very strange game. When you even look at what happened at the start of the game, there was a delay of game that lasted 20 minutes simply because the Spurs rim was uneven. So they had to get some rim technicians to come in to fix the rim. I think that was kind of like foreshadowing of just like how weird this game would become once it was played. So the game starts off and the Spurs catch fire. They're on fire from three, and they easily take over in the first half, no issues. Spurs go up by 16 at one point in time, I believe, in the first half. But it seems like this game is under control. This is going to be an easy win. Granted, the game is in Houston, but at that time, the Rockets don't look like they can stop the Spurs, and the Spurs look like they kind of have the Rockets under control, at least from what the first half showed. That everything is clicking on all cylinders. Julian Champagny is on fire. Like, this guy's hitting threes everywhere, and he just looks like he's unstoppable himself. Like, I thought for a second this guy might get like above 10 threes made in a game like he did like a few weeks ago against the Knicks when he hit like 12 of them, I believe. So it looked like it was going to be one of those nights, and you're thinking like, all right, this is going to be great. As a Spurs fan, I'm biased, and it still felt like that way in the third quarter when the Spurs came out at a halftime, like they had control. And then it just started to fall apart heading late towards the third, late in the third, I would say. Houston started to get some momentum. Spurs start to get cold. And then it went nuclear in the fourth quarter. That's really when it started to fall apart in this game for the Spurs, that they were up by 10 in the fourth quarter. They were up 92 to 82. But the issue was they went on like a stretch for like, I think it was like 4 or 5 minutes where they just couldn't score. They made no shots and they didn't get to the free throw line. It was a struggle for the first, I would say, yeah, it was. I'm just looking when the Spurs finally scored. Yeah, they got their first bucket at 7 minute and 29 mark. And by then the lead was only like a 3-point lead. So it went all the way down from a 10-point lead to a 1-point lead with 7 minutes and 38 seconds left when it was 92-91. Spurs then hit a 2-pointer that puts them up 94-91. But after that, it just felt the Spurs had lost complete control of this game. The momentum was over. They couldn't buy a bucket. The Rockets would eventually take the lead, and the Spurs could not stop the Rockets' momentum. But they really lost this game in the first 3-4 minutes of the fourth quarter. A veteran team, I was going to say, would have just put out the Rockets, ended the game in the first few minutes of the fourth quarter, built on that lead, and the Rockets would have been cooked. But the Spurs took their foot off the gas pedal. But then you got to give some credit to the Rockets for being resilient and not giving up. Still a very disappointing game, but I think the most troubling thing to me was how Victor got punked by Shagun in this game, or Shagun, I don't know how to say his name, that he was punked in this game by Shagun. Shagun really played physical with him, and he unfortunately got the best of Victor in this game. He shot above 50% for the game, had 20 points, 13 rebounds. Victor shot a putrid 23%. He had 14 points and 10 rebounds, but he was clearly outplayed by him. What really bothered me was how Shagun was able to rough him up and be very physical with him, that especially when he would post him up in the paint area. It's like he could move Victor underneath the basket. And this is not like the first time I've seen Shagun do this to Victor. I've seen this happen quite a few times over the last few years where Shagun gets really up for Victor and then he just schools him. He just starts roughing him up on both ends of the court, playing very physical. And it clearly frustrates Victor because, like I said, I've seen him outplay Victor quite a few times. Victor has gotten the better of him every now and then, but I feel like Shagun has gotten the better out of him more times. So this is like not a good matchup for Victor, but I think it also just really exposes his weakness, is that Victor is not physically strong. that if you're the opposition, you want to rough him up on both ends of the court and just physically beat him up. This is like a trend I've seen the last like 10 or 12 games where teams, when they're down against the Spurs, they'll start playing extra physical with Victor. They'll start roughing him up, fouling him, knocking him to the ground. And it works because they're able to get back in the game by just physically pushing him around. And to some degree, I do think Victor is kind of soft. Like, it sucks, but I've just seen him get rattled once teams start playing him really physical and aggressively. It's like he completely melts in those situations. That's something that is very concerning. I don't know how he overcomes physical play when teams rough him up. I really don't know, other than to get physically stronger. But I just wish there was a solution to that. Like, I don't think Victor's like this really mean guy in the sense that he's willing to throw elbows, because even Tim Duncan, when the games would get out of control, he would start throwing elbows at his opponents. That he knew how to diss it back when it came to being physical. He would muscle guys underneath the basket for rebounds or post them up in the paint. Victor just doesn't have the strength to do any of those things. So he's kind of like at his opponent's mercy, which makes it very tough. I would say the other thing about Victor that just really annoys me is that it's like he takes so many 3-point shots. In this game, he took 7 threes and he missed all of them. Pretty much useless. And on top of that, he just does not have a go-to move underneath pressure situations. He doesn't have his signature move. Like Tim, I felt, had a few signature moves he could go to. He had the bank shot. He had the post-up move on the baseline area. He had the jump hook move. He had the up and under move. He had quite a few moves in his arsenal he could go to under pressure situations. But I don't think his game is really like Tim or ever will be like Tim, which sucks because I think Tim is the ideal big man you like to have when it comes to posting up. To me, he's like more like this weird hybrid of Kevin Durant and Kevin Garnett. I've always argued with Kevin Garnett fans that the reason why Tim was better than Kevin Garnett was because he could post up in the paint, and that allowed him to have go-to moves in pressure situations, especially when the game is tight. I remember reading somewhere that Tim Duncan is actually the most clutch big man of all time. And I actually do believe that because I remember watching close Spurs games in the past with Duncan. Then the final 2-3 minutes of the game, he could easily post up and get his team a bucket when they really needed a bucket to score, like to break a scoring drought. I remember even at old age, he was able to do this in the playoffs, and him doing it against OKC in this pivotal Game 6 back in 2014, which felt like a must-win for the Spurs, that they couldn't allow that series to get to 7. Spurs struggling, I believe, in the overtime period. Tim Duncan posts up Serge Ibaka on the baseline, hits the shot, and that was like the kill shot for OKC in that game. That was like the dagger shot that showed how valuable just posting up is. Victor doesn't have that ability, and it really showed in the fourth quarter when he really could not score a bucket. He was missing jump shots left and right. He couldn't get to the basket, and he was at the mercy of the Rockets. So that really hurts in those situations, because I've always said that, yeah, it looks cool when a big man can hit jump shots. He looks flashy. It's kind of like why people like Garnett more than Duncan. I still think it's stupid because, again, when you're a big man, your biggest advantage is your height. You should be able to post up on the baseline area and get easy buckets. It's not good when you're missing jump shots and you have nothing else to do. Then you're no different than some guy who's like 6'1" or 6'2". You're really useless in that regard. So that's the issue. Like, Victor has to find a compromise in the sense that I think he should focus more on hitting mid-range shots and not being obsessed with threes. Heck, if he hit a few mid-range shots in this game in the fourth quarter, Spurs could have won the game. That's something he can work on. I'm not even sure if he can ever become a great three-point shooter. I'm just skeptical about that. I'm going to look up his three-point shooting this season. This season, he's shooting 38%, so I guess I'm eating crow on that. But I'm still not a fan of the three-point shooting because it doesn't always work in the pressure situations from what we've seen. And Kevin Garnett had something interesting to say about Victor that I'm going to read out to you guys. Here's what Kevin Durant said. He's still working on his jump shot. He's more scary when he's inside the paint getting layups and dunks. That's more of his game than shooting jump shots. When they go in, it looks amazing, but when you put a hand up, he had a couple bad misses. I agree 100% with Durant. Even Durant recognizes this, like, hey, I think he's saying to Victor, you can't be me. You're never gonna be me. That's not who you are. You gotta accept that you're a big man. You're not me. You can't play like me all the time. So I think Durant is honest about that because Victor causes more damage when he's getting easy layups, dunks, and hitting the mid-range shot. So that's something he's going to have to work on. It'll be interesting to see how he responds to Shagun next week in a rematch and see if he's up for the challenge and he can get the better of him. I'm definitely going to look forward to that. But I don't have anything else to say about this.